But what we're discovering and hearing from learning from being here with Ed and Eimear is what happened with the famine. Paulo was just saying that when he learned it in school, it just felt like it just happened, but without it being induced from outside.
Yeah.
So we don't get all of those. It's always like that inaccurate picture. We don't get the full picture.
Yeah.
We only get the sanitized picture. So
That's it.
just say a little bit more of what you were saying.
Yeah, that when we were taught about the Irish famine at high school, it's as if the famine came from heaven. But actually, this famine was made in England, and imposed on people here by taking away their land. And I was, coming here, it becomes clear that until we understand what the English did to the Irish and to the Scots, we can never fully understand what they did to the First Nations peoples of North America, or what they are doing in Zimbabwe right now.
Yeah.
And also this is a challenge to the Irish and to the Scots. They have to tell us what happened to them, because they also, don't tell us, what happened to them. So I think this is the new stage of new knowledge and to be the basis of new understanding and new relationships.
Yeah. Well, even when I'm looking at exploring my own background, because my background is Cree, OG Cree, German and Scottish.
Yeah.
And when I went to Scotland a few years ago, that's one of the things I was really thinking about, was how they were always also displaced and colonized.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking that likely my great-great-grandfather spoke Gaelic when he came to Canada and not English, because he would have come from probably northern part and some of the islands like that. That's the thing that I'm not sure about, but I got to thinking about all of those things, and how displaced people get pushed to go elsewhere and end up colonizing.
That's it.
So they've learned that, so they come and colonize us in Canada and
Right.
Africa.
Right.
Yeah. Pretty
It's
sad,
such an important piece. When on the day after tomorrow, we're going to go to the Famine Museum, because this area was the hardest hit. This area of such gorgeous, enormously rich farmland and seas, and by the time people were at the stage where they might have tried out of desperation to fish for food, they were too weak to do so. And the food had left in boats to go to England. The cattle, the grain had left. And when local people tried to protest and ask for some of it to be kept locally so people wouldn't starve, Ed will read you a little later a piece from one of the local papers that gives the exact words of one of the local landlords, Townsend, to that plea, where he's basically saying that, maybe people aren't working, they're lazy, maybe, they need to share more with each other. The same sort of things that one hears in other countries when people's attempts to manage their own resources are actually undercut by what has happened on the larger level. So we'll put that piece in. We'll put in a piece around the quote so that you can hear from the newspapers of the time what was said as a response to that plea for food.
On our walking tour, the gentleman said that the potato famine, the blight started in Belgium, and then it spread across here.
Whatever the cause of the blight, the problem was that there was only one source of food. And if that one source of food went, then what were the options? Like, it wasn't that who cares where the blight came from? The fact was there was only one source of food. And that's what most people ate. Right up into the 50s here, people ate mainly potatoes. When Ed came here in the 50s, that's what people ate. Like a lump of bacon between a whole family and maybe, 12, 13, 14, 20 potatoes, because that was filling and,
But
so.
the other thing I was thinking about is here's this ocean that likely, when you said people had a variety of things to eat, they must have done a lot of fishing. You know, you could survive on fish because it has protein and other things. You can't just survive on potatoes alone.
No.
So when certain things got introduced where it's just one crop, and then everybody forgets the traditional knowledge of the fishing, and there must have been seaweed, you know, the natural herbs and habitat to be able to eat, and then if you lose that knowledge, that experience is in one lifetime, the next generation won't know how to do that. So when I say, even though they were weak to go out fishing, likely a lot of people forgot how to do that as well. You know, just amazing.
Do we know what might have been a source of carbohydrates or starch for them before the potato? Because the land is so rocky, it's not necessarily.
It's not an easy land. Well, it's rocky now and eroded, but before this there were forests. Like the whole island at one stage was heavily forested and full of elk and mushrooms and wild deer and small rodents and lots of actually, you know, protein sources and wild herbs and things that could be collected and harvested. But once the forests were done, and most of that timber went for building ships, like the Armada. The British ships were built from timbers from this land. And then those timbers returned, carrying people to settle this land. I mean, it's the same story. Same as North America. So we have to understand those cycles of the fact that what was such a rich land got eroded and, I would say, raped of resources, and then what came in its place was dependent on the people who had taken away the resources, so that in fact then, you know, if there was any shift in that generosity, charity, hand down, then people were going to starve. Or if it was decided that certain food sources would go to England and not here, then people were going to starve.